talking about the airport in general and all of the sensory issues that I came into contact with that I always used to wonder, why am I always mad in the airport? This time I paid attention, and boy, do I have a lot to share with you. So if that's something that might interest you, then stick around. So referencing back to my part one of my travel fiasco is where I first came into contact with some sensory issues at the airport, and that was at the TSA check. You know, you have to take off your jacket and your shoes and, put everything in those little bins, right? Well, the first sensory issue that I came to was taking off my shoes and having to walk on that cold floor into the thing, where you have to put your hands up and the thing spins around. So the first sensory issue was having my socks on the cold floor. I did not like that. And then having to stand, in that little machine thing, put your feet on the yellow spots in there. And I couldn't stop thinking about all the people that had their feet there. So that was an issue. And I could feel the texture of the floor through my socks. And so that was a problem. And then I had forgotten to take off my wrist thing because I have a bad wrist. Actually, it's this one. I have a bad wrist and I forgot to take that off. So that was an issue. And so it involved being patted down, which was a huge issue. But I camouflaged like I've done my whole life. And, just like I said in the last one, I just pretended for a few seconds to be, someone that I'm not, just so I could get through it because it was very uncomfortable. And then after that, putting my shoes back on and all those other things and making sure that I had all of my, all of my belongings. That part went okay. But the walking on the cold floor in my socks in an airport where thousands of people's feet have been was a problem. One of my travel hacks is packing, like a few days before you're actually going to travel so you can live out of your suitcase or your personal carry-on, whatever, to make sure you have just what you need and not too much, but you want to make sure that you have what you need. And so one of the things that I carried in my bag was my little headphones. And they literally, once I got past the checkpoints, they literally just stayed on me the whole time. And so that was huge. And so I pretty much kept these in 100% of my travel once I got past the checkpoint. And that really seemed to help because I can hear a little bit out of them, but not a lot. Because for me, noises and sounds are almost like the same volume. Everything is all loud all at the same time. And so these did help. And then I have some stories along the way about these. And so the headphones were brilliant, actually. And so I'm glad I thought to go ahead and keep these in my bag so I could have them with me all the time. And the second thing I kept with me was just some fidget toys. And this is the one that I actually kept on me and in my bag because it was pretty safe to take, so this was one of my safe ones. Another one that I took that I actually packed in my bag was my Nido, which I love these, but I was just nervous about carrying it on because I didn't know if they would be like, oh, well, there's too much gel in there or there's gel, or something like that. And, so you can't have it on the, you can't take it on the plane. And I didn't want them to take it. So just to make sure, I packed it in my checked bag. But I also took this. And in the airport, one of the things that really used to bother me, besides the noise, were the lights. And not so much that it was too bright, per se, but for example, my airport here in Tennessee was perfect. They weren't too bright, they weren't flickering, they were all the same color. And so I actually didn't have to, worry about the sensory overload there. The problem happened when I got to the O'Hare airport, and they had all these little, like, I don't know what they call them anymore, but they used to call them like little pot lights, that in the ceiling. And that was a big problem because some of them were bright white, some of them were daylight white, some of them were yellow, some of them were more amber, and some of them were just completely burnt out. And it was all random, all over the place. And it was overwhelming. It was hard to look up to, at the signs to see where I was going, because when I look up, I'd had to see those lights, and it was just distracting. And the lights just felt loud because they were all different colors and everything like that. So I also took in my personal bag my sunglasses, and they were pretty perfect. And at first I felt a little self-conscious putting on my sunglasses, but after a while I found that I absolutely had to, because the lights and all the different colors were so distracting that I found myself not looking up often enough and missing my turn to get to my concourse for my next plane. Luckily, at the O'Hare airport, I had a 3.5 hour layover, and so I had plenty of time to get there, but I probably added an extra 10 minutes to my walk because I wasn't looking up at the signs. And so that's when I decided, just put the sunglasses on and just keep it pushing. And so if you have problems with lights, like you can hear the buzzing and the different colors and all these other different things, absolutely make sure you take your sunglasses. And these sunglasses were old, but they were prescription, so I could still see well enough, And so, yeah, my sunglasses like saved my life at the O'Hare airport. And then also another thing that it helped with is, even just sitting there in the chairs waiting for my, waiting for the flight, being able to put those glasses on if I needed to look up, because I was also sitting next to a bunch of windows, and so the windows were really bright. And then there was the issue with all of the lights being bright. And then also while I was at O'Hare, these came in handy because I literally could hear everything, like the coffee maker and the ice maker and people's sandwich wrappers, crinkling, and people slurping out of their drink cups, and, people, making like espresso coffee, and, all of those different noises and everything like that was so overwhelming, and everything was just loud all at once. And so I was able to just put these on and block everything out. And then I just, like listen to like either music or like, a, music or, audiobook. And so, I did that to, try to block out the noise and everything like that. So that worked out pretty well. And so then some other things that I took to deal with my sensory issues at the airport were things like safe snacks and everything like that, because it's so expensive to eat out of the airport, and I knew I couldn't afford that. So I took my favorite like little cheese and crackers and little peanut butter crackers, and stuff like that. And I also like little sesame seed crisps and stuff like that, and plus they're healthy and they're crunchy. And when I'm nervous or anxietied out, I tend to like crunchy foods. And so I thought, well, cheese and crackers, peanut butter crackers, and my little sesame crisps would be perfect. And they were. And so that worked out really nice. Some other things that I took along for my sensory issues were, oh, yeah, my cell phone charger. My chargers for my cell phone and for these, because for obvious reasons, I need my phone so I can like listen to things at least while I'm in the airport. I couldn't do it on the plane because, now you have to pay $10 for, Wi-Fi on the plane. I didn't know that. So, I got to enjoy my cell phone and my music and my books, while I had my long layovers. And so that was really nice. And so I made sure I had my chargers so my phone could stay charged up and these could stay charged up. Absolutely a necessity. And another thing for our sensory issues is, it's hard for us to remember to drink water. And so once I got past, the TSA check, first thing I did was, bought an expensive bottle of water so I could, after I drank it, I could fill it up, and so I could take that with me, the whole time. And so that worked out really well, especially with my 3.5 hour layover that I had. I had already bought my water bottle at the Tennessee airport, and so that was cool. So that way I could stay hydrated, and that way I could also take my medication, which I also carried with me. My medications were absolutely necessary to help me deal with the sensory overload at the airport. Whatever you do, don't forget to make sure you have your medication on you, because it's so easy to just let that slip your mind and put it in like a checked bag, and then you don't have access to it. So make sure that you have your medications and any kind of medications with you, like on your person. So if you need to take them for any reason or for an emergency, you have them right there, right? Makes sense, right? Okay. And another thing that I had to help me with my sensory issues was I took a book, an old-fashioned book, the kind that you turn the pages. And I actually read that more than I listened to my book on tape. I just put these in and blocked out, like 80% of the noise, and then just immersed myself into reading my book. And so that helped out quite a bit. And then, and since I took my laptop bag, I took my laptop. It has nothing to do with sensory issues, but since we're talking about my laptop bag, I just wanted you guys to know that, yes, I also had my laptop in there, and I had room for everything else, plus an emergency change of clothes in case my check bag got lost. And so, I thought that through too. So go me. Now, what I wish I would have taken in my bag for sensory issues were tissues, because where I was sitting, especially in the O'Hare airport, it was very, very cold. And no matter where I sat, it seemed like I was sitting under an air vent. And so my nose would start running in. So I was sniffing all the time. And it was just so annoying. I was annoying myself with my sniffing. So I wish I would have thought to take tissues, with me in my personal bag. And I wish I would have thought to take like Vicks Vapo Rub to rub under my nose, because all the way from Chicago O'Hare to Lincoln, Nebraska, I don't know what was going on, but somebody sitting close to me had this really sour body odor and smelled like vegetable soup. And I almost lost it a couple of times because I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And so finally put my mask back on and, try to just push through and, just not pay attention to it. All the while my nose is running even more. And so as the flight attendants were coming by, with the drink cart, I was like, yes, please. I would like some coffee, and I would like about 6 napkins so I could keep dabbing my nose and everything like that. So those are 2 things that I wish I would have thought to take. Definitely the Vapo Rub, because coming back home, I had a long layover. So I left Nebraska, and then I had another long layover in Denver. And then I'll be damned, I had my tissue this time, for my runny nose, but I still didn't have the Vapo Rub for under. Why did the guy that I sat next to, because I had an aisle seat there, that was lucky because I wasn't in the middle, but the guy that was like sitting in the middle, why did he smell like wet, sweaty sock feet the whole way from Denver back to Tennessee? Why? But anyway, that was a sensory issue as well too, and it was sitting right next to me. But we put our mask on and we just ignored it, and then I shoved little teeny tiny pieces of tissue up my nose, and that helped a little bit, and I could still breathe. Well, So this is the end of part 2 of my travel as an unmasked autistic late diagnosed adult, and really paying attention to the sensory issues because like my friend said, she's like, I'm so surprised that you had all of these issues at the airport. She goes, I always thought that you just did really well at airports. She goes, you were always like, knowing where you were going and just always in a hurry to get out of the airport. And I said, yeah. I said, that's because you walk really slow. I said, I was overwhelmed. And I said, and I had to get the hell out of there. I wasn't like having a good time in there. You saw me rushing to get out of there because I was about to lose my shit. And she was like, oh. She goes, I guess I didn't realize. And I'm like, of course you didn't realize. And I said, of course I didn't tell you. I said, because first off, I was masking, not knowing I was masking. And I didn't know why I felt that way in the airports. I just knew that I was getting angrier and angrier and more anxiety out by the second. And I had to get out. That's all I knew. So anyway, I hope you found all of that entertaining. And if you haven't traveled in a while, I hope I gave you some ideas, that can help you on your travels and help you with your sensory issues a little bit better. And but the big thing, you guys, take that tip. Live out of your bag for a couple of days before you travel, just to make sure you have everything you need. It's not a big deal if you forget something because you can always buy it. Once you get to where you're going, just try not to buy it in the airport because it's super, super expensive, and just be mindful of that. And one of the reasons I like to live out of my suitcases and out of my personal bags is because I have a problem making long, detailed lists and everything like that, and following lists and checking them off. I really suck at that. So it's easier for me to just, slowly pack my bag and pack the things that I know I'm going to need. And then it helps me have what I need, exactly what I need, and not more than I need. So anyway, get ready for part 3. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be yet, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And you know the deal. Drink plenty of water and stay hydrated. And make sure you remember to eat. I'm eating pizza rolls right now because it's my safe food. And I love them. Try to remember to eat healthy. I do that typically at dinner time. And don't forget to take your meds, on time. If that's something that applies to you, make sure you do that because it really does help us out a lot. And yeah, take care, and I will see you in my next video.